How do you recover from a momentary lapse in judgment? You know, we're not perfect people. We say things and we do things that could offend other people. You know, it's inevitable. You know, it's happened in the past. It's probably happening right now, and it's going to happen in the future. You can anticipate it happening in the future. So what can you do as a professional in your career? What can you do to get back on track? How do you recover from these momentary lapses of judgment? And you know, we just happen to be at a time when we are watching a number of people going through this right now, a number of people recovering from these lapses in judgment. And I'll talk about two cases. One is obviously Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber, who's currently going on this, I call it the apology campaign, where he's apologizing for all the childish and imbecile behaviors that he did, you know, a few years ago. We will also look at this other case that is hot right now, is happening right now at the time of this video, and that's this whole Hydra One employee's case. His name is Shawn Simoes, who was caught on camera defending this horrible and deplorable movement that apparently has been going on for the last year. I have no idea that this thing existed, but it's been going on for over a year now, where people go and shout out this rude phrase, you know, when in front of a reporter or next to a reporter, while the reporter is doing their job, while they're reporting. And so Shawn Simoes he was caught by one of the reporters who was confronting a bunch of fellows, and you know, she just happened to talk to him, and he was defending it very strongly. He was defending this whole movement very strongly, saying it was funny. And again, absolute bonehead move, no question about it, absolute bonehead move. And because he was caught, he was fired from his job, and now he's in the situation because, you know, he's a young fellow, he's an engineer. Surely he's probably a very talented engineer. He had a very good job apparently. I don't know why they find the need to list or report how much money he is making in his career, but they did. You know, so for sure he's a talented fellow. He's got a good education. He's a talented fellow. Not saying anything about his character, but now that he's made this bonehead move, what can he do to recover? What should he do to recover? So we'll look at that. But the point here is, again, to give you a framework, give you a system to think through certain things, you know, to do certain things when you have these momentary lapses of judgment. You know, how will you recover from them the best way possible? So the first thing that you've got to do whenever you have, you know, you offend someone, you know, if you do something that is offensive, and again, it was a momentary lapse of judgment, you got caught up or what have you, the first thing that you've got to do is you've got to get clear on who was affected. You've got to get clear on who was affected by your actions. You know, it's not just the one person that you are directly dealing with, right? It's always that one person who's directly dealing with, and also the people who happen to be there watching you, right? So it's not just, again, so it's not just the person that you offended directly, but it's also the people who happen to be watching and who are indirectly offended by the things that you did. So again, you've got to be clear first on who were the people, who is the audience that is affected by your actions. You know, Justin Bieber, from all the things that he did, you know, he offended a number of people. He offended not just his fan base, not just the whatever teens that follow him. You know, he offended a broader group. You know, not just the teens, but the teens' parents. You know, or other people who happen to know him, but maybe aren't fans of him, but just happen to know him. You know, he offended a number of people. You know, in Shawn Simoes' case, it wasn't just the reporter who was offended. You know, if you really think about it, it was his employer. You know, the people that he worked with at Hydra One, they would be offended. I mean, I would be offended if I saw my work colleagues say those things about women on camera. You know, if I knew that's what they believed, I would be offended. So for sure, he offended people in his colleagues who worked with him or who worked with him at Hydra One. But because he was caught on camera, and because he's been sort of made an example of about this whole movement, you know, he's offended he's essentially offended the whole of Canada. He's offended whoever's essentially heard about him or heard him say those things across the globe. So he's offended a lot of people by doing and saying the things that he did. So again, when you are in that position where you you offended someone, you offended people, get clear on who exactly was offended, because that's what you're going to need for your step 2. And that step 2 is apologize. Obviously, this is something that you're going to want to do, but it's not just doing it, it's how you go about doing it, how you go about apologizing. The way to apologize is always in person. Never ever do it through any impersonal means. Never through a letter, never through email, never through a phone call. Do it in person, face to face. Obviously, this is if you can. If it's practical, if it's possible to do it if you can in person. Especially the person that you offended. In Justin Bieber's case, he's gone on every talk show that he can. He's gone on Ellen to apologize multiple times. He's apologized on social media, on his Facebook page and whatever social media platform that he's active on. He's apologized in multiple channels as best as he could and tried to explain himself. Tried to explain that he's changed. He's a changed person. So he's apologized multiple times to people. And he's done this, again, it's impractical for him. It would be impractical for him to go and do this in person with every single person, so he's done this the best way for him. In Shawn Simoes' case, now this is an example you don't want to do. This is an example you don't want to follow. I heard at the time of this video that he sent a letter to the reporter who, again, was interviewing him and who he was very offensive to. And he sent a personal letter that wasn't publicized, that wasn't released for wider audience. And so two things that he did wrong. One is he sent a letter. He didn't apologize in person. The second thing is he didn't apologize to all the people he offended. He's just sent an apology letter to the reporter. He's got a lot more people that were offended from his actions and his words that he's not sent an apology to, that he's not planned his apology around. So again, that is one example that you don't want to follow. So that's why you've got to know all the people that you've offended, both indirectly and directly, so you can plan your apology. The third thing that you've got to do, and yes, there's one more thing. Apologizing isn't enough. There's one more thing that you've got to do. Actually, there's two more things you've got to do. The third thing that you've got to do is you've got to give the people that you offended the opportunity to vent to you. You see, when you have your momentary lapse of judgment and you do something that offends people, then what you essentially do is you're imposing emotions or you're imposing feelings on them that weren't invited, that they didn't expect, and that these emotions or feelings weren't positive, right? And apologizing, as much as we would like to believe is a way to neutralize those feelings, the real way to neutralize those feelings is to give people an opportunity to impose their emotions on you, right? It's this whole sense of justice thing that we have. We want to feel justified. When you're offended by someone or when someone does something to you, you want that opportunity to do something to them that gives them that same sense of emotion that they gave you, right? So it's that same equation. I'm not a psychologist, I'm not an emotional intelligence expert, but I do know for a fact from experience that this is what people want. So when you're in that position, if you've done something to, again, to offend people by doing certain things, again, momentary lapse of judgment, give them an opportunity to vent to you, right? Give them an opportunity to lay it to you. Justin Bieber, in his case, it was, if you don't know, he had this comedy roast where Kevin Hart was the host, and they laid in on him. Like Kevin Hart said in the beginning, is they did in that roast essentially what his parents, or what Justin Bieber's parents or his agent should have done a long time ago, and that is give the boy an ass whooping, right? And they laid it to him. They gave it to him, right? And even though Justin Bieber, like, I mean, he was borderline tears. I mean, it was rough. It was a very rough experience, and it was a very public experience too. And when Justin Bieber did this comedy roast, I mean, that was a genius move. You know what it did is it gave people a sense of justice. It gave people a sense of, you know, evening the score. And it went to the point that basically, like I said, was just, you know, Justin Bieber was almost barely in tears. What it did is it created space. It allowed people to open their hearts again, open their, you know, welcome Justin Bieber again into their space. Right? And that's all he wants. He just wants to make music. I'm sure he just wants to get back to doing what he does really well. And he wants people to invite him back into their lives. And this was a way for him to do it. And it was genius, right? Now, in Shawn Simoes' case, obviously he's not gone there. He's not done anything to allow people to really impinge on him. Right? I mean, if he was smart, if he was intelligent, if he was strategic, you know, if he's going to get back on his career, if he's going to get back on track with his career, he's got to give people a chance to see him get his ass whooped, right? And the way to do it is, the best way to do it for him would be to get onto a talk show, get onto a news show where the host or the anchors are mostly women, and just allow them to question him. Defend his position, or explain his position, or explain how apologetic he is, and how now he realizes that this is not a good thing to do. You know, if he shows some sense of remorse for his actions, and he does it in an environment where he is surrounded by women reporters, that would give him an opportunity to earn a bit more retribution and get back on track, you know, get his career back on track. Because if he doesn't do that, he's still offended a number of people. People are still going to, you know, companies are going to think twice about hiring him. You know, when he shows no remorse for his behavior, then he's basically shot his career down. So you don't want to be in that position again. What you want to do is you want to give the people who've been offended by your actions, give them a chance to impinge on you, give them a chance to vent to you. So that's the third thing that you should do is give people the sense of justice. The fourth thing that you've got to do, and it's absolutely the most important point here, is never ever make that same mistake again. Whatever it is that you did to offend people, that momentary lapse of judgment, make sure it never happens again. You only get one opportunity to offend people, and if you do it again, if you apologize and you show retribution, but you do it again, you're done. I mean, that's how you lose it, right? That's how you lose credibility. That's how you lose goodwill. That's how you lose people's trust. And you don't want to do that. So again, lastly, make it, anchor it in your molecules that you will never ever have that same momentary lapse of judgment ever again. So there you go again. When you have those moments where you just happen to offend people, follow these 4 steps and get yourself back on track. All right, hey, Amir Bradley here. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. And if you did, there's a few things that we can do to make sure that you continue on your journey. First, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel where you will be notified of when I release my next video. The second thing you can do is you can download my free ebook called Fast Track, the 10 Principles to Put Your Career on the Fast Track. And what you will learn in that ebook are the things that you can do to accelerate your career. And the third thing you can do is you can join me on Facebook, where I share daily insights and inspiration to help you get energized for your workday. So thank you once again for watching my video. I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in my next video.